Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jambo. Bienvenidos. My name is Jedlie, and this is Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you from the beautiful, wonderful, historical neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so honored and so very delighted that you are joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. You might be wondering how we do that. Well, we do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. Please be sure to tell all of your family and friends, your kids' teachers, principals, librarians about the show, and let them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, CastBox, Player FM, Amazon Music, Audible, Boomplay, Ghana. Wherever you find your favorite shows. We have two wonderful guests for you today. First, Dr. Rachel Wellner will be here to celebrate her series, Doctoroo. And then later in the show, Erin Danielle Russell, the co-author of The Dork Diaries, will be here to celebrate her brand new book, Soul Food.
You've heard the whispers. You've seen it on TV. You may have even seen the movie. Now it's time to bring Dungeons and Dragons directly to you with D&D for Hire!
More than just a game, D&D lets you step into the role of a hero you create and guide them on fantastical adventures with your friends. Perfect for beginners and experts alike, D&D for Hire is sure to delight and entertain your kids for weeks on end.
Such a fun game. There are endless possibilities. There's so many things that you can do. It's so much fun.
Our son Eli loves D&D. It's like his favorite thing to do all week.
I was like 15 when I joined. I'm 21 now. There are people who are in our party, really learn to come out of their shells.
Whether you're near or far, whether you're looking for a birthday party or a campaign to keep you adventuring for years to come, D&D for Hire has you covered. Learn more at dndforhire.com. That's dndforhire.com. D&D for Hire, bringing the adventure to you. D&D for Hire runs games digitally over Zoom or in person in select areas.
This episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by Junior Miles and the Junkman. Great middle grade novel written by Kevin Carey. Junior and his family live in a junkyard where his father creates pieces of art from the junk surrounding them. When Junior's father falls ill and dies, Junior and his mom are left with few resources other than what his mother brings home from her job as a waitress. The junkyard is threatened by encroaching development, and just when Junior thinks all is lost, he finds that a junk sculpture of a man gifted to him by his father begins to speak to him. The junk man provides advice in the form of enigmas. Are they clues, or is it just nonsense? Junior and his best friend Isaac embark on a journey to find out. Can a man made of junk parts teach Junior about art and friendship and overcoming the loss of a loved one? Only if Junior believes it can. This is a really wonderful middle grade novel. You and your kids would love it. Check it out today. Junior Miles and the Junkman by Kevin Carey. This episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by Facing the Beast Within, written by New York Times best-selling author Mark Cheverton. Cameron Poole has a problem, a big problem. He's a bully magnet who struggles with anxiety. Being the smallest sixth grader at his summer camp, everything around him triggers his anxiety, his beast, making it impossible for him to do the same things other kids can do. In a constant state of worry, Cameron feels like a perpetual failure. That's bad enough. But when Cameron learns that mythical monsters are trying to invade his camp, things go from bad to worse. You and your kids are going to love this exciting middle grade novel. It belongs in your family library. You're going to love it. Facing the Beast Within, written by Mark Cheverton. My friends, we are in for a magical treat. Our guest is here today to celebrate the magical world of Doctoroo and friends. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Rachel Wellner. Dr. Rachel, how are you?
Hi, Jed and audience. I am doing great, except for my voice. It's a little bit raspy, but I am doing great. I think I need Doctoroo.
Well, we excuse your raspy voice. You are a doctor in real life, so you're working really hard and having some really difficult and sometimes very happy conversations with people. I'm imagining that being able to write a children's book that is happy and fun must be a nice kind of vacation from your day job.
It is very uplifting. What Jed hasn't said yet, spoiler alert, I guess, is I'm a breast surgical oncologist. So my practice consists of dealing with patients who either have breast cancer or high-risk lesions that could lead to breast cancer. Some of them don't have the breast cancer, but many of them do. So, I treat them surgically. So that's what he means by, that's what Jed means by having heavy news, and that, yes, it is an uplifting retreat for me to write these amazing preventive health books for kids where we really stick with basic health lessons for children and teach them while we take them on a health adventure, while we take them on, they have a lot of fun learning about health. And that's my goal. That's what I'm inspired by.
Awesome. So before I ask you about the magical world of Doctoroo and friends, we just want to remind the parents that are listening out there, get yourselves checked and on a regular basis. Let's be safe. You got to be there for your kids.
Please.
Yes.
They need to be around for their weddings and for them to become doctors.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us about Doctoroo. Who is this magical creature?
How did I come up with this crazy character? So Doctoroo is Dr. Marsha Roo. Marsha the marsupial, right? And for someone who's oddly never been to Australia, I came up with Australian characters. Don't ask me to do an Australian accent because I'll just blunder it and I'll sound like it's Cockney or something like that. But in any case, so Dr. Marsha Roo lives in, rural town outside of Sydney, and she's got 3 very special friends and companions. Her nurse, Kirby Koala, her basically, registrant, Terrence Toad. He takes in all the patients and things like that. And Louis Llama, who is the postman in the village. And he brings her all the news when somebody's in trouble. Now, Dr. Marsha Roo is essentially an international doctor, although I have one episode where she stays at home. So she gets a call from somewhere, anywhere in the world, and she pilots her own plane because she's tough. She pilots her own plane, takes her crew to that area, and she takes care of usually kids, their animals, kids of an area that are suffering from something. And before I go on, Dr. Marsha Roo becomes Doctoroo as soon as she hears the cry for help. So she's a little bit of a superhero. A couple things happen. She's got a pouch, like all kangaroos. That's what makes them marsupial, right? They have a pouch. So her pouch starts to kickle and to kick and sparkle and kick and sparkle and get all magical. And inside her pouch, she contains all of her medical tools, like one of those old medical bags. So her stethoscope and her reflex hammers and all that stuff, her sphygmomanometers and tongue depressants, and all that is inside the pouch. So she gets excited and thumps her foot and turns into Doctoroo. So the kangaroo doctor.
That's really, really cool, especially as somebody who's old enough to have remembered my doctor coming to my house making house calls. So
I do remember, and I've done that myself. You wouldn't believe it. I've still done it. Every once in a while, it's still needed.
Yeah. Well, those were the days. And now people who listen to the show go, yeah, he really is almost 100 years old.
Yeah, you're lucky if you can talk to him on the phone or Zoom. Exactly.
Exactly. So where did the inspiration for Doctoroo come from? You said you've never visited Australia. Was this just something that you dreamt one night? And
Well, I was on pediatrics rotation as a medical student, and I loved the kids. What I couldn't stomach, which is going to sound awful, is the sick kids, the really sick kids in the hospital. It was really difficult for me. I mean, it's difficult for me, even with the adult patients, but it's sort of heartbreaking, cancer patients and kids. And so when kids were in pediatrics and inpatient, if they were sick, they were usually really sick. In the outpatient, they weren't so sick, ear infections and things like that. So I wanted to do something, a little more, I don't want to say like, just kind of very, very challenging. And I felt outpatient was a little more rote. But still very challenging. But like I said, the inpatient, it was just a little heart wrenching. Not that there weren't wonderful stories of recovery and amazing feats. But so it was during my pediatric rotation that I came up with the idea. I kind of knew because of my emotions, towards seeing the sick kids, that I wasn't going to go into pediatrics. But I came up with those characters at the time. And I didn't know what to do with it because I wasn't a children's writer. I didn't know how to write for ages 3 to 5, 5 to 7. I just didn't know how to do it. And I sort of psyched myself out. And then one day, about, 6 months to a year ago, I just sort of sat down. I called a publisher somewhere who's not my publisher now. And I said, look, I have this idea. And I said, I don't know, I'm going to need your editor or whatever, but I'm just going to do it. I'm going to write this story. And I wrote the first version and it wasn't great. Then I started writing it again and again and again, and it started to like really gel. It was like, okay, this has a beat, this has a rhythm, this has a treatment. I'm able to kind of tell the story, act 1, act 2, act 3 kind of thing. And I can do this. I can do this for the ages of 3 to 7. And it was a confidence thing. So I took an idea that was, 20 years old from my life, and I actually executed on it at the age of 46, 47, So, that's basically the story.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Now, these books take kids on a magical medical adventure. Are we learning, health tips, how to stay healthy? Are we learning about different illnesses that kids may be challenged by so they can better understand it?
Sure. So, I just took the very common practice in medicine of what's called the differential diagnosis. So we rule out causes of things. We rule out tumor. We rule out whether it's a birth defect. We rule out whether it's from trauma or an accident. We rule out, whether it's an infection. There's causes of things. So I used that rule out model and I made it into a detective model. I said the perfect model to make into a detective. So, the first 4 books that I have, and I haven't written more yet, but I have a couple, several more. The next 4 I've planned already. The first 3, are topical and the 4th is a coloring book. Mm-hmm. So the first 3 are about, germ prevention. The second one is about sun protection. I don't want to give away the goose here, but so it's about sun protection, mm-hmm. and the third is about nutrition. So I chose to take these animal populations and make them get very sick with something. And so Doctoroo and her crew would, like I said, come to the area and, then they would intermingle with the local population, right? So they would always take on the help of these cool little characters that would always come in. And what was cool about adding characters from the local scene is it could always provide humor, mm-hmm. something different, cultural competency. There was always room for humor, like in one of my books, Picnic Pirates, I have a Penny Penguin who is assistant to the mayor, and she says, oh my, oh dear, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And so at every turn, you've got this humor from this character. She's not one of the regulars, but she's hilarious. And, so I wanted to do that. So yes, so every time that, they would uncover one cause and find that it wasn't the case, they would then look for the next cause, and systematically rule out, what the causes were. In general, again, spoiler alert, the causes of whatever was making them ill is usually very simple and very not serious, in the scheme of things. Very preventable causes of health problems. And that was the point, to teach the kids something very preventable, empower them, teach them about this health problem, like a terrible sunburn. How do you avoid this? So she goes through the detective work of, is this, they go to Hawaii, is this volcanic ash poisoning from the carbon monoxide? Is this poison ivy that's endemic to the region? Is this a spider bites? Is this, that kind of stuff? So she rules out the more serious things. And then there's like always cute little things like the spider, who they're asking if the spider bit the children, and he goes, I do not bite children, and please let me get back to my web design. So cute little things like that to make the kids laugh. And also I use the opportunity to usually point out some interesting geographic monuments and areas and teach them things, other things other than just medicine. So for instance, with the Picnic Pirates, which is about nutrition, I teach them about hibernation. So one of the causes of these kids getting sick is, are they sleeping too much? And so Terrence Toad, who's my comic relief guy, always gets it just a little bit wrong, but then he really learns. He goes, are they hibernating too much? And so then we use that as an opportunity to explain the difference between dormancy, hibernation, and sleep. And so everything to me is an opportunity for learning, but I want the kids to laugh while they're learning, because that's going to help them remember. And they're at the age where the synaptic connections just form and connect, and they'll learn like sponges. So, you've got there's several forms of learning. Tactile, unfortunately. Well, I guess you're looking at a book and you're feeling, but it's not quite like surgical learning, right? Tactile. So you've got your visual, you got your pictures, you have your reading. So you're hearing about it, you're seeing it. And then things like humor, I'm adding those components in to really solidify the learning process. I don't have the smell, as a type of learning. That is a very powerful, form of learning, by nostalgia and stuff like that. I'm blanking right now. I don't know.
Well, that it's funny. We've actually had authors on the show who have written books that you can smell.
Scratch and sniff type book.
Yep. And those were fascinating conversations about the science of smell. But getting back to this, I'm imagining that these books, not only are they fun, but they're books that kids are going to want to read again and again, which gives parents a chance to really get into some neat conversations about health and making healthy choices. I've always said to young parents, who tell me, oh man, your kids are grown now. I'm so afraid to have to talk to them about drugs or alcohol or whatever it is. And what am I going to do? And I always tell them the time to start those conversations is now. You don't necessarily talk about drugs with a 5-year-old, but you talk about healthy choices and how what you put in your body affects you, and so those are the kind of conversations. And as an expert, I'm a dope. So have I been giving people good advice?
Not only are you giving people good advice, but you figured out how to hook up that doohickey podcast thing that I couldn't do. So you're no dope to me. I wanted to also say, we do in each book, we do a song or some sort of interesting poem or rap. So we've got like the hula song, the hula SPF 36 song for sunlight, how to apply it to the arms and legs. And we've got
the top of the head in my case here.
It's cute. Louis Lama, who is the straight character, like he's very serious. Out of the blue, at the 4th of July picnic, when everybody's feeling better, they figured out that it's bad food that made everybody sick. Junk food, too much junk food, So he gets up and he goes, I am FP Louis, and I'm here to say the food you eat can make or break your day. May make or break your day. May make or break your day. So he does a rap. I mean, it's just, and it's funny because you don't expect him to come out like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's an incredible rap, like that goes through all the different foods. I mean, it's not something that the kids can remember easily because I can't even remember it, but it is really fun. And we made a video, a rap video. And when I say me, I mean my publishing team and everybody. We put out like a rap video with actually a rap group.
Wow.
For you to listen to it, post on TikTok and IG and all that stuff. So we try to do that. And then like simple things like in the hand washing with the germ prevention one, I ripped off Madonna, sorry, but I did it with 7 words or less. So I think I was allowed to. So don't just stand there. Let's get to it. Wash your hands. There's nothing to it. Go, 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 go. Now, when you're washing your hands, the proper way to do it, aside from me teaching you how to scrub surgically, which, is a whole nother ball of wax, there's some principles that actually do apply. So you are supposed to suds up like this,
Mm-hmm.
okay? You are supposed to do like this, and you are supposed to get up to your elbows, almost like you do in the surgical tank. And when you're scrubbing surgical, we now use, a waterless system, but when we used to use the water, this is what we would do,
Mm-hmm.
Scrub like this, scrub in between each finger, and it would be like 8 minutes. Okay. That's surgical scrub. But for a regular wash, it's 20 seconds. So how do you count those 20 seconds, or how do you make that go by, easily for kids? I know it sounds like nothing, but it's tedious for 4-year-olds, right? So you sing, don't just stand there. Let's get to it. Wash your hands, or whatever. Don't just stand there. Let's get to it. Wash your hands. There's nothing to it. Go, 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 go. You sing it 3 times, 20 seconds. Other ways to do that, take their favorite bath toy and stick it in the sink with them and have them play with it.
Mm-hmm.
Or take their favorite scented soap and have them, use that as well. Something that's going to make it fun. That's the point. We put all that, in the books.
Well, I love that. And I think it would have come in handy with
olfactory. It came to me. I'm one of those people that can't sleep if I can't think of word. The olfactory nerve, olfactory sense.
Call back to the smell books. This sounds like it's a lot of fun and is would be a great resource for any family to start those conversations and to get kids to build those habits that can really make a difference in their life.
Well, my next, just so you know, you bring up a great, sort of segue. My next series of books, I'm going to get a little headier. We're going to do one about bullying. Okay. It's a little bit about mental health and bullying. Okay. So I'm getting a little bit more controversial. I try to keep these not too controversial because I want them simple for all kids.
Mm-hmm.
I want the kids learning. I don't want to create a political debate. That's not the point of these books. The point is to really teach kids the truth and, absolute truths about health and, based on science and what we absolutely know. And, and again, educational, stimulate them not only to understand their own health, but also think about things like careers and science and technology or in the art world, seeing these illustrations, and creativity, because this book is really a melding of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math.
Very important.
Not medicine. Hello, but I'm just joking. But anyway, math and medicine. So double M.
Mm-hmm.
But also, illustrations. I mean, I don't illustrate myself. I have an amazing illustrator from the Ukraine. She's unbelievable. I mean, she captures things. She with emotion like I've never seen. It's again, very, very special find, this young woman. And she's illustrated from a war zone. So if for nothing else, guys, get out and buy that book just to support Irina. I mean, she's unreal. So, anyhow, so through the illustrations and the creativity, and then, like I said, the jokes and the, coming up with just everywhere, coming up with a learning lesson and a way of thinking about how to teach kids. I'm hoping to stimulate them to kind of figure out who they are.
Yeah.
So again, bullying, we'll get into exercise, smoking. So, I think smoking 3 to 7-year-olds can handle the topic of
sure.
smoking, and not smoking. Maybe even bring in the drugs, not in a heavy-handed way, but like being offered mysterious pills and saying no, something like that. And I also want to do some dental health, flossing and prevention and things like that. I have some of those topics that are ready to go. So just it's fatiguing to write several books. So I've written a couple of them already. I'm looking for just a little break and then want to get started on them again. So that's just my.
Well, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, you shared with us that you are an oncological surgeon.
I'm an oncologic surgeon. Oncology surgeon. Yeah. They say breast surgeon in my field, but I usually tell the layman that I don't like it because then they think it's cosmetics, and I have nothing against cosmetics, but I don't do cosmetics.
Right.
So
right. So you're a surgeon, you're a children's author. You also lead a company that's doing some amazing research and discoveries. Where do you find the time and the energy?
I don't have any time. I don't have. That's what I call the CEO voice. I don't. Look, what drives me is what I think I can do for this world. That's it, plain and simple. I'm not driven by much in the sense of like glamour, glitz, this, the other. I'm driven by what I feel I can contribute to this world. I think that's why we're here. We are all given our own set of unique gifts and talents, every single one of us. Mine are no more special than anyone else's. They just happen to be mine. So I've taken what I feel are my gifts and my talents and rolled them up, and I'm trying to use them, utilize them in the most effective way to help humanity, people. We're in trying times right now. We're in times where a lot of us want to give up. Never thought I'd live through a pandemic. Living through world wars right now. We're living through world crises. You know what's going on. We're not in easy times, and it's very confusing for the kids. So they need a safe haven. They need a safe place. This is it. This is one of them. It's not it. I don't mean it's not to say that they're taking away Playland or something. This is a safe haven for kids. And one thing I'll say that's interesting, I have a niece now she's 7 and my nephew's 11. And the 7-year-old's already, she's outgrowing, the sort of maximum age for this book. And she's also like whip smart. And so is the boy. I mean, they're just really smart. So a year ago already, or no, I'm sorry, when he was about 7 or 8, he started reading Harry Potter and stuff like that. So he was like, I'm too old for Doctoroo, whatever. But they kept reading it. They read Harry Potter and they keep Doctoroo. And they're funny. They edit the book. They're like, they make suggestions and they edit. They even made one of my TikTok posts, for me. They star in one of my commercials.
Awesome.
They're very cute.
That's wonderful. And, one of the things I was thinking about is Doctoroo would be a really great role model. We've talked a lot about how important it is to encourage our girls, our guys too, but especially our girls, to go for it if they're interested in the STEM fields, if they might be interested in becoming a surgeon or a doctor. You can do it, and Doctoroo is a great role model for those young kids to let them know that they can make things happen.
I thought so. I mean, not to be narcissistic in any way, but like before, like you said, where's the time, right? So as a college student and up through my residency, I used to plan international medical missions. I started my first in Nicaragua, did 2 of them. You might not remember this. I worked with C. Everett Koop. You might remember him.
Certainly do. Yeah.
A lot of people don't remember him, but he was probably the pretty famous, last real famous Surgeon General, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So, you can't forget that Amish beard.
Yep.
Curious fact about him: he had long nails.
Really?
Very strange, right?
Yeah.
Like the stuff that belongs in the Guinness book. Yeah, I know it was strange. I'm like, I know you don't practice surgery anymore, but really, like, anyway. But so, I worked with him in, Nicaragua when I was in college. Did that twice. India a few times. Guatemala. Started a mission in the Dominican Republic when I was in residency. So, and I would do it to this day if I had the time, and I certainly have the passion for it. I loved doing that. So the idea of making Doctoroo a traveling doctor, able to, go somewhere, and learn, and she does as much teaching as she does. She also learns. She learns about another culture. She learns about how they do things, and she carefully integrates herself into these new communities. She respects the local customs without being like, oh, the American doctor, or the Australian doctor is here. She's not imperialistic like that. She's just, she's trying to teach that lesson, like I said, of cultural competency, which is one that I learned myself. I mean, I certainly never came into these places arrogant. I always came in knowing, be very humble. You're in a different place. Some may deify you for being American, but don't go with that. Like, just learn from what you're seeing, and then try to help where you can. And if I've helped one life, that's enough. Yeah. That's the way I looked at it. Wow. I felt like when I came back from some of these trips, like I gained more from them than they did from me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I certainly understand that. I recently I do educational magic shows around the country, and I recently did I did a tour of El Salvador with a group called Clowns Without Borders, and I traveled through Guatemala and El Salvador, and it was very cool. And a lot of what you just said about not being arrogant and just going and meeting people and being there and sharing your gifts with them, and learning from them is it's such a gift. And hopefully I gave something to them, but I know I came back with a lot more than I went down with.
Either way, you gave and you took back. It's two things. Let me ask a funny question, Jed.
Sure.
Do you know what's the French word for clown?
I should know that, but I don't.
Okay, you need to know that because Doctors Without Borders was originally Médecins Sans Frontières. So it's a French company called Médecins Sans Frontières. So I don't know the word for clown, but Clowns Sans Frontières. So you need that.
Well,
you need that cachet, and that needs to be part of your logo.
Well, in El Salvador, we're at Payasos Sin Fronteras.
Exactly, Payasos Sin Fronteras. The Doctora Sin Fronteras is also was also the word in Central America as well. Yeah. But it is originally a French company, or Doctors Without Borders. So I tell you, now you need to learn it.
I'm gonna check that out as soon as we're finished. Hey, I'm gonna go on Google to find out how you say clown in French, but we don't need to send people to Google to find out how to get to Doctoroo. We can just ask you. Where can we find her?
And Jed, you think you're not smart enough. You're a genius here. What a great segue. I'm just joking. So a couple ways. It's available on Amazon.com. So you can search Doctoroo. You can do a couple things. There's actually like a little link that says purchase the series, and it brings you to the whole series page. For some glitch, I don't think you can buy the series all at once. I think you still have to buy the book separately, but it does take you to the series page where you can at least click, and then get them all. Please don't forget the coloring book. We didn't talk about that, but coloring books are incredibly important for the development of the brain. And it's called Who is Doctoroo, so it also has some kind of cute little storyline there. But so even though we didn't talk about the coloring book, and it's not one of my hottest selling items, but it really should be, because coloring books are very important for kids for their art skills, their dexterity, again, learning just how to write and draw, and also it's just for their cognition. There's done studies that it's one of the best cognitive tools that there is. So coloring books, really, really important. So that's one way. And the other way is I have a website, www.doctoroo.health. I'm going to spell it out because some people think it's D-R-Roo. So www.doctoroo.health.
All right.
Okay, now Doctoroo.com was taken. Don't ask me why, by a group of traveling doctors.
Oh,
I was like, why would they want Doctoroo.com? Okay, but anyway, they have it. But the fact was, when health popped up, I'm like, oh, cool, that's better. So,
very cool.
I snagged that hosting site. So, www.doctoroo.health, and you can click straight onto the links. That will take you to the Amazon page. So
awesome. This has been a fascinating conversation. Dr. Rachel, will you come back sometime in the future?
Please have me. I'd love to come back.
There you go.
And all under one condition.
Okay.
You're doing a magic trick for me.
Oh, no problem. You got it. That's the next visit. We've had a great time speaking to the author of The Magical World of Doctoroo and Friends. Our guest has been Dr. Rachel Wellner. Dr. Rachel, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me so much.
This episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by Becoming Strong by Anandamoy Baker. Becoming Strong is an illustrated children's chapter book about an adorable little bee named Jazzienza, who has a bent antenna and must wear glasses. She gets bullied at times, and through the sage advice of Mama Queensy Bee, the queen bee, she learns to become strong, confident, and kind. The book not only helps children learn breathing techniques to deal with anxiety, but also enables them to connect on a deeper level with nature. In addition, a clear message in the book is that we are all important and valuable, and our lives have meaning no matter our size. Becoming Strong is a Reading with Your Kids certified great read and would be a fantastic addition to any family library. This episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by Melusine, Birds of Many Feathers. Put down your iPads, young explorers. Have you ever wondered about the mysteries hidden in your own backyard? Join Melusine on an adventure to uncover a mysterious bird right in her backyard. Look, over there. What bird could that be? On every page, meet a diverse world filled with feathered friends and neighbors. This tale is perfect for young readers aged 5 to 10, and it's not your ordinary birding adventure, but a true appreciation of biodiversity. And you know what? The adventure doesn't stop there. Melusine, Bird of Many Feathers, is an ideal companion for the Great Backyard Bird Count, which starts February 16th to 19th, 2024. Participate in this exciting event with families from around the world and bring the joy of bird watching to your home. Grab your binoculars, everyone. Melusine, Birds of Many Feathers is available now at your favorite bookstore and online. Autographed copies and exclusive offers are available at KiddleWinksPublishing.com. This episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by The Adventures of Toby Baxter, Book 2, River Home for the Holidays. It is a Reading with Your Kids certified great read written by Tim Wright. River Home for the Holidays delivers a captivating blend of humor, danger, and inspiration. For lovers of fantasy with mythical creatures, this book is a must-read, promising a thrilling and heartwarming adventure. Dive into the enchanting world of River Home alongside Toby Baxter, and you won't be disappointed. It is a Reading with Your Kids certified great read, great middle grade novel. You want to add this to your family library. The Adventures of Toby Baxter, Book 2, River Home for the Holidays, written by Tim Wright. Join us right now from beautiful Des Moines in the state of Iowa. Our guest is here today to celebrate her new children's book. It's called Soul Food, but not spelled the way you think. Please welcome to the show, Erin Danielle Russell. Hey, Erin, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Wonderful. I can't wait to have you tell us all about Soul Food.
Okay. Well, Soul Food is about a young biracial girl. She's half Black American, half Korean American, and she creates a meal to bring both sides of her family together. She has one side of the family in South Carolina and the other side of the family in South Korea.
Wow. This is really neat. It's the picture of a lot of families in this world, mine included. My kids are, of Irish and Puerto Rican descent. And
oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and my beautiful wife and I really went all in to celebrate both of those cultures and to our Thanksgivings, and we also hosted international kids in our home. So there was one Thanksgiving that we had 5 languages, conversations in 5 different languages going around the table, and food from all over the world. And it is so cool.
Wow, that's awesome. So I have to ask. Okay. Your Thanksgiving, do you do dishes from different countries or cultures?
We do. Like, we have a lot of the same but different. Like for the stuffing, there's the way my mom made it, and there's the way my beautiful wife's mom made it. And so we'll have both. Why not? They're both great.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. So what was the inspiration for this story for you?
So this started as a conversation between my husband and I. I wanted to write a story that was unique to me, and at the time I was venting to my husband, like, I can't think of anything that is different that I could write. And then he goes, well, why don't you write about us? And I was like, oh my gosh, this whole time I could have written about us. So a little background. My husband is Korean American and I am Black, and we were trying to have a baby at the time, and I wanted to write a story that they could, my future child could identify with. And so, yeah, that's how Soul Food was born.
Yeah. Well, I love it. It's, like we both said, it's the reality for so many families out there. And what a beautiful, I think that that's a great statement to say that, because I'll be honest with you, I guess my family that I grew up in was considered mixed because my grandmother was Protestant and my other side of the family was Catholic. And I'm like, there's really not all that much difference. But we've come from, that part that, slight and very slight religious differences. Like, wow, how can you guys get along? Now it's like, yes, we're Puerto Rican and Irish and Korean and Black and Lithuanian and all this. And it's like an everyday thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Sorry. I was just going to say it's wonderful that diversity is becoming more normal.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. Because, to be honest with you, I love mashed potatoes, but man, I had them every single day of my life growing up. I don't need them anymore. I like rice and cabbage and all that other great stuff that I'm being introduced to now.
That's great. Though I highly recommend mashed potatoes with kimchi.
All right. Yeah. All right. So we're going to go there. All right. So how do you do this mashed potatoes and kimchi?
I haven't made it myself yet, but, excuse me. I've been to an Asian fusion restaurant where they served short ribs with mashed potatoes, which is a normal thing in America, but they added a twist by mixing in kimchi with the mashed potatoes to give it some spice. And it's really good. If you've had horseradish or you like horseradish mashed potatoes, you will love kimchi mashed potatoes.
All right. We have to try that. I want to encourage everybody else out there, give it a shot. Tell us what you think in the comments, and I'll let you know what I think when I try it. I love this. So, in this story, we love to talk to authors about what kind of conversations they can have with their kids as they're reading a great book like Soul Food. What do you think? What do you think are some of the conversations that will arise as families read this book together?
Well, it's a good opportunity to talk about your family background and ancestry, and then maybe if you don't already have a tradition from your ancestry or culture, create one. I think it would be a really good hands-on activity to create a dish with your child that represents their family.
Yeah. What a great idea. We feature in our online magazine, we feature lots of recipes in a feature we call Cooking with Your Kids. And I believe that reading with your kids is just the first step to so many things that you can do with your kids. And what a great idea to create your own kind of family tradition that is going to live on through your kids into future generations.
Yeah, and I have a little story about that. So when I was a kid, I cooked with my grandmother. And have you heard of the American Girls?
Yes.
American Girl dolls?
Yes, uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay, so I had an American Girl, her name was Addie, and she had a cookbook of Southern American food, and so I begged my grandma to help me cook something out of this cookbook. And my grandmother, she was from Mississippi, so it made perfect sense because, our ancestry was in the South, and my first dish that I cooked with her was corn pudding.
Ooh.
That was from the Addie book.
Yeah, that's so cool. And, the smile, the people listening aren't able to see your smile. As Erin is telling us this story, her smile is huge. It's like the sun. And so it just brings back so many happy memories for you.
Yeah. Cooking was the way I bonded with my family.
Yeah. Hey, tell me, speaking of family, you are the former co-author of the Dork Diaries that you created with your mom, and we had your mom and sister on the podcast a few years back to talk about that. What was that experience like?
Well, that was my gateway into writing children's books. We would collaborate, talk about things from our past, like stories from middle school, and then add a little humor, like just to take a memory and then make it funny. Mm-hmm. Because at the time, when I was Nikki Maxwell's age, I thought middle school was pretty traumatic. But now looking back at it, I can laugh. Yeah. And it turns it into a fun story that kids can relate to. Yeah. I think
one of the gifts I know that I was able to pass this on to my daughter is when she's in when we're together and there's a mishap, the car breaks down or the dog gets out or whatever it is, we're able to look at each other and say, it's going to make a good story someday.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's like a superpower if you're able to do that.
It is.
Yeah. So you asked me about my family Thanksgiving tradition. What about in the Russell home? Do we have a mix of American and Korean food on a regular basis?
Yeah. So I am learning to cook Korean dishes. I'm not an expert yet, excuse me, but I'm definitely working on it. Like yesterday, I made us, it's this black bean sauce with noodles, And I wish I could pronounce the name, but I know I'm going to slaughter it. But anyway, it's a Korean dish, and my husband loved it. So I'm like, yay, I'm doing a good job so far. But also the kimchi gumbo recipe, that was something that I made up.
Okay, we got to go there again. Kimchi. I love gumbo. I can't make it, but I love it. And would it be just sprinkling kimchi into a regular gumbo recipe, or is there something a little bit more complicated?
So the base of it is a gumbo, but then you put in kimchi and, I hope I say this right, gochujang. It is a chili paste.
Okay. All right.
To add more spice. So you get the cabbage from the kimchi, and then you have the mirepoix, or that's a French word for like celery, carrots, and onion. So all of that stuff. Oh, bell peppers.
Okay.
That was another thing. Since both meals are, they're based on the food that you have available, I just thought it would be perfect to blend them together.
Yeah.
When I say both meals, I mean the gumbo and the kimchi jjigae, which is a Korean stew.
I'm imagining, I am hoping that people are listening to this and their mouths are starting to water a little bit. And it gives them the courage because, we talked about the fact that there are so many families, bicultural, biracial families out there these days. And that's a wonderful thing. But there's still a lot of families that are, both parents are from the same ethnicity or pretty close. But I think those families can celebrate diversity by just kind of being a little courageous and going out and trying different recipes from different cultures.
Yeah. If you don't want to make it, you can always order out or go to a restaurant and talk about it.
Yeah. One of the neat memories that I have, we hosted international kids in our home. And we had this one young woman from China live with us and became our daughter and was just wonderful. She loved to cook, and her and I spent about 12 hours one day making dumplings from scratch.
Oh.
So we made the wrappers, and we put the meat in and cut up the vegetables, and hers were beautiful. Mine were pretty ugly, but they were all absolutely delicious.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'd love to do that.
Yeah. And it's that memory, that time. Again, just like the time that we spend reading with our kids, that time. And there were like probably a couple of hours where me and she were just busy, not saying a word, just sitting together and working together. And that, she spent a year with us and with many great memories, but that's one that I cherish. I really do.
Yeah, that's great. Food is universal. It's something that brings everybody together. So that is great. And yeah, you don't even have to speak the same language to bond that way.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. But it's interesting. So we were the cool house for the Chinese kids at that school that particular year. So we would always have 5 or 6 or 7 young women from China over our house on the weekends. And they would oftentimes have cookouts and be out there cooking together, and I'd be out helping them. And for somehow, by, I guess, osmosis, I was able to tell when they called each other dumb when they were cooking, because they'd be doing it in Mandarin, and I would turn and go, "Did you just call her dumb?" He said, "How did you know?" I go, "Oh, I guess I got the tone, or I learned that word." So what else? What other kind of books are you looking to write in the future? Now that you've had this revelation that, we can write about my family. Are there more books coming from your lived experience?
I would love to continue with the Soul Food book, make it into a series, or start another book, because my son is going to need books when he gets older that he can identify with. I'm a big advocate of diversity, and so I'm going to make sure that all of my books give children a mirror they can see themselves in.
Awesome. Hey, before we go, can you tell us a little bit about your How to Trick the Tooth Fairy book? That sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. So that book is based on my fandom for the Tooth Fairy when I was a child. I was obsessed. I wanted to wake up and meet the Tooth Fairy. So the little girl, Kylie, in How to Trick the Tooth Fairy lives out my dream of actually meeting the Tooth Fairy. And she's a little mischievous, so she tries to pull a prank on the Tooth Fairy, but the Tooth Fairy is a bigger prankster. So it becomes a pranking war.
I've never heard anybody refer to their fandom of the Tooth Fairy before. This is wonderful. I've learned so much today.
Yeah, I'm a kind of a weird person. I'm still a kid at heart.
Well, I don't know if I would use the word weird. Lovely and absolutely fascinating are the words that I would use to describe you.
Thank you.
We should learn where we can go to find out more about you and find out more about Soul Food.
Okay, you can go to my website. That is erindrussell-author.com. Or you can find me on Instagram or Twitter or TikTok at Erin D. Russell.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of Soul Food. Our guest has been Erin Danielle Russell. Erin, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show. In the meantime, please be sure to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram and TikTok, and at Jedlie Magic on Twitter. Also, please be sure to visit our YouTube channel, youtube.com/readingwithyourkids. And of course, we would love for you to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our amazing guests, Dr. Rachel Wellner and Erin Danielle Russell. Also want to thank all of our sponsors, and I want to give a special shout-out to my team, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Chris Doherty, Skylar Strauss, Nick Warner, Kyoko Ito, Kayla Newland, Kristen Barrett, Sydney Swan, Hannah Rose. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and thank you so much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you on the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.